So what is Battlefield Portal? Battlefield Portal is a community-driven platform within Battlefield 2042, which within this experience you'll be able to create and also transform a lot of the custom game modes that are going to be within the game itself using a logic editor that before this time developers have been using for years. Within the logic editor itself, you'll be able to tweak little bits towards a lot of the settings, towards the game mode, of course. You'll be able to tweak the victory conditions. That means if you want it to just be a certain amount of score, a certain amount of time, you can change it towards your fancying. You can also change the team ratio, so that means you can go between a 4 versus 32. And also, if you are on the next gen or PC platforms, you will be able to edit the team ratios towards 128 players. Also within the logic editor, you'll be able to restrict the weapons that players will be able to use, and you'll also be able to put different factions from different Battlefield eras within one game mode. Now, the different Battlefield eras that we're going to have are going to be coming from Battlefield 1942, Battlefield Bad Company 2, and also Battlefield 3. These 3 games are going to be included into Battlefield Portal with also the addition of all of the Battlefield 2042 content. That means within Battlefield Portal you'll be able to pick and choose anything from any of these eras of games. Now, in terms of the maps and the locations that you'll be able to edit and choose within Battlefield Portal, there's going to be all of the Battlefield 2042 content, so be able to pick all of the maps and also all of the future maps that will be coming to Battlefield 2042. But you'll also be able to pick 6 classic maps. Right now, only 6 classic maps from these 3 eras of games. 2 maps are going to be coming from Battlefield 1942, which is going to be the Battle of Bulge, and El Alamein, which both of these 2 games are going to be getting a reimagined experience towards the Battlefield 2042 experience. So that means both of these 2 maps are going to have destructible environments and some reimagined areas, so that means it's easier to adapt towards the actual engine of Battlefield 2042. Now, we will also be getting 2 maps from Battlefield Bad Company 2, which are going to be Arica Harbour and Valparaiso. Now, from Battlefield 3, we're going to be getting 2 new maps as well of Caspian Border and Noshal Canals. Now, within all of these games, though, of course, they are going to be reimagined in some ways to adapt to the major update of the player scales. So that means a lot of the maps, they're going to be very similar to the originals, but in some ways, of course, they're going to be adapted. So that means they're going to be a little bit bigger, but, you know, a lot of the details are going to be still within these maps. Now, in terms of some of the weaponry and vehicles and gadgets that we're going to be getting within the Battlefield Portal experience, of course, we're going to be getting all of the equipment that we're going to be getting in Battlefield 2042, but of course, we're going to be getting 40 plus weapons from the 3 eras of games. We're going to be getting 40 plus vehicles from the 3 eras of games, and we're also going to be getting 30 plus gadgets from the 3 areas of games. Now, of course, we're going to be probably seeing a lot of additions towards the games over the years, because this game is going to be a live service game. So that means it's going to come from the community feedback of what should be added into these games. Of course, we're going to be seeing additional maps from any of these 3 areas of games, and of course, a lot of the equipment and vehicles that we're going to be seeing from these 3 areas of games are going to be added extras into the Battlefield Portal experience. Now, as I said right at the start, you'll be able to pick and choose the factions that you'll be able to have in the games itself. Now, a lot of the factions are going to be coming from the Battlefield eras, and within these Battlefield eras, we're going to be having 7 different armies from the classic Battlefield titles, as well as the Battlefield 2042 specialists. Now, with the addition of a lot of the factions returning, there's also going to be soldiers from Battlefield 3, which does include the assault, engineer, support and recon roles, which are going to be making the return to the Battlefield Portal. So some of the examples that you'll be able to edit within the game itself is, of course, the mobility. You'll be able to edit the factions, visibility, arsenal and the scale of the game itself. Now, of course, the scale of it is going to be the team ratios, but you can restrict it. So that means you can have a lot less players. That means you can only have a certain amount of players on one team and a certain amount of players on another team. And this will go between both of the versions of the game, of course being on last gen and of course being on new gen. The arsenals towards the game, of course, that does include the weaponry, the vehicles, any of the gadgets and the specialists. You'll be able to pick and choose what you'll be able to have. But within the game itself, you can't mix and match certain aspects towards the games on the same teams. So that means you can't have modern day and 1942 era on the same team, but you can have them fighting against each other. Now, towards the visibility towards the games, you'll be able to set up different types of settings, which may include hardcore mode, which, if a lot of people don't know what hardcore mode is, it's without a heads-up display and of course without a minimap. So that means you'll be able to have a lot of different things, and of course within hardcore mode you have a alteration towards a lot of the health scales. So that means you'll be able to edit a lot of those settings towards the game itself. The mobility setting, you'll be able to change a lot of different aspects towards this part of the game in terms of aiming down sights. You'll be able to enable and disable it, so that means that's going to be incredibly hard towards a lot of different things, especially if you're going towards just a sniper setting. So that means you just have snipers and no aiming down sight. Could be an interesting value, but you know, see how that one plans out towards it. But of course, the mobility setting does include, you can turn off sprint, so that means you can have the true 1942 era, so that means you can disable the sprint, so you have that the entire time, and of course disable the health regeneration towards the settings as well, so that means you can have that towards your experience. Or you might be able to have an experience towards, you can't have health regen unless you get a kill. Or in terms of an easier way of saying it, if you get a kill, health regen is enabled. But in terms of the overall setting, health regen can be just disabled. So that means you can have different alterations and different examples towards different aspects towards the game. And of course, I did go over factions before. Now, there will be some little limitations towards the games itself. So one of the examples that they gave, that you can't be a penguin holding a flamethrower, of course, but you know, that does make a lot more sense. But one of the limitations towards this is that you won't be able to build your own Battle Royale mode. But a lot of different game modes you can actually create. You can create a rush mode, you can create a gun game mode. So that means every single kill, every single 2 kills, you change to the next tier of the gun. You can actually bring back gun game from Battlefield 3 and add it back into Battlefield 2042, especially within a lot of the new guns, and of course you can have a lot of the different settings towards it. I want to kind of see if you can have a gun game and you can go through different eras of guns. Sometimes you start off with a 1942 gun and you can end on a 2042 gun. I want to see if that's something that can be added into the game. It's something that I'm going to have to find out when the actual game comes out, and you know, it's going to be something that's incredibly different towards all of this. Now, one of the things that you can change within the setting itself is that you can disable AI soldiers within this thing. You can add them and you can take them away. And within Battlefield Portal, that is the only way you can actually get rid of the AI soldiers. Within All Out Warfare, you can only have it towards a backfill setting, but within Battlefield Portal, you can get rid of it entirely. So that means you can have it as limited amount of players per team. Now, as the last thing that I'll go over towards this is, of course, the progression. Now, a lot of people probably think that within Battlefield Portal you won't be able to get a lot of the progression that you'll be able to have within the game itself, but you can. You will get full progression by playing Battlefield Portal. Now, there could be a lot of different ways that it could be cheesed, especially if you have it as just you versus AIs, so that means you could have it between that, but it could be a reduced amount depending on if you have AIs within the game, or depending on how many AIs you have in the game itself. But yes, you can get progression towards your level and probably towards the battle pass as well. But that's it. That is everything about Battlefield Portal that we had within all of this. Now, as an additional thing, which I will put all of the timestamps down below between all of these things, is that the open beta has been scheduled for September time this year. Now, we don't have a absolute confirmed date towards the open beta. I would guess that the open beta could be more towards the start of September, so that means they have a month beforehand, so that means they can actually amend a lot of stuff, or it could be the middle of September. But one thing that we haven't actually seen about just yet is about Hazard Zone, which we will probably see within the August period. Or if not the August period, we're going to be getting it just before the open beta. We gotta try and find out some information about Hazard Zone before the open beta actually comes out. So that means, you know, it gives a lot more hype towards the game, and it actually gives off a lot more pre-orders, let's just say, towards the game itself. But that is everything that I've got for you guys for today. So I hope you guys enjoy. Sorry that it's late, but I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next video for more Battlefield 2042 content, or maybe something different. Who knows? But I'll see you guys in the next one. So peace out.